So NLL top 50, we kind of teased this that you'll be talking about it. I know I've had my thoughts on it. There's been some speculation that maybe the GMs and coaches are in on some little secret plan to get the league more clicks, which I kind of push back on that a little bit. But I know specifically, I've been on the record saying Matt Vince is the best goalie as of right now, despite being 40 something years old. I know Del Bianco was just won the league MVP. Matt Vince won an NLL Cup. What is your take on that aspect of the top 15, just top 15 in general, which I've loved, by the way?
Yeah, it's an amazing initiative, and it's been really cool to work on it. It's been
Yeah.
cool to know who's been in the top 50 for quite some time, and so now to see people's reactions, I knew that there would be some that would definitely,
Right.
get people talking a little bit. And also, I should mention we haven't seen the forwards list yet, uh,
Right.
and so there might be some surprises on there for people once they see who is on there and maybe who isn't on there. So there's more to come. But I think that one of the big questions here, and I think that this would have to be asked of the GMs and coaches of the leagues who did participate in this vote, is what was their thought process when they did this? Because, you know, there are many schools of thought when viewing
Right.
lacrosse. There's the eye test, there's the, what does the intangibles that a guy contributes, there's the pure numbers aspect of it. And so, what are you talking about? Are you talking about things that, as I said, the intangibles that you can't really see on the floor? Maybe it's a big locker room guy, something that provides something that we wouldn't know about, and that makes it a little bit tough. Now, I would also push
Right.
back a little bit, and I did actually try in when you were doing the defenseman. I messaged you in the little chat there about Rouet just to give you some statistical perspective. Now, I'm not, I love my stats, and I'm never gonna necessarily
Good.
show my hand as to which player or which thing I like the most. Unless I'm asked to do that. But I would just let you know that, while Rouet was in his first year kind of playing in that defensive in transition role, with his offensive background, I'm going to get these numbers wrong probably, but I think he and Courier were the only transition or defenders in all of the National Lacrosse League with 30 plus points, 115 plus loose balls, and 10 plus caused turnovers. Now, I know that if you're looking at a defenseman, you would want to see a lot of maybe a few more loose balls, definitely more caused turnovers, more block shots, maybe. But in a more transition role, you do want some more points. And I think that talking to Coach Williams throughout last season and the other coaches and some of his teammates, they were really happy with his performance last year. And it's for him to do it in such a different role, I thought was really great. So, I also think that it's interesting to not see Robert Hope on that list of 15 there. That was a bit shocking. The guy who's pretty much been the focal point of that Mammoth defense for quite some time and is a
Yeah.
big reason why they won the championship in 2022, being in front of Dylan Ward, one of the greatest goaltenders of our time. So, he obviously got left off the list, and I think that bothered a bunch of people. It was definitely a bit shocking there. Face-offs. Also, I should mention that it's interesting to note. So when you look at those lists, some things change. So Eli Gobricht, for example, I believe he recently broke his arm. So, and
Oh.
literally got surgery on it, I think about a week ago or something like that.
Mm.
So while he's on that list, don't expect to see much of him because he's recovering from a pretty significant
Yeah.
injury. And another one is that Brandon Cleland, who was number 5 on the face-offs, he has started to become a fireman, and there's something, I don't know the exact rules. This is maybe something for a Jake Elliott or a Teddy Jenner or someone like that, but he has a 1-year probation. It's basically these guys, they don't play lacrosse for that year when they
Mm.
start being a firefighter, and so don't expect to see much of him either this season. That also then begs the question, who's going to be taking the draws for the Desert Dogs? That's something that they'll have to figure out throughout the year. And then I would just say, and I put this out on Twitter, is that, you look at a guy like, and this goes back to the stats, what are you looking at? Are you looking at pure face-off win percentage numbers? Because if you are, sure, it's an
Right.
interesting list. But then I would say maybe where was Tim Edwards? He won 61% of his draws, but he was out west. Now we don't have conferences anymore, but if you look at it, you have to look at what we had last year and in the years past, and you had a guy like Max Adler, who for Buffalo, and this was literally his first full NLL season, and he upped
Oh,
his faceoff percentage by more than 11 percentage points, and he had to face Trevor Baptiste, T.D. Erlin, Jake Withers, and he even faced Joe Nardella before Nardella had his injury. So he faced those guys, I think it was 9 or 10 times throughout the year. That's more than 50%. And those are the best
mm,
faceoff guys in the business. And he still had over 50%. So, it's how do you look at what they can contribute? Are you also including their defense? Are you including how they might play in transition? What is the way that each coach and GM is analyzing the player?
great point. See, because I'm a context guy. I've tried to tell people that before. Like, I'm like always a big picture. I don't just immediately react to something, even though it seems like I do. And I like that you mentioned each just like coach and GM, very different thought process. Some, like you said, some guys are analytics, some guys are just flat out playbook guys. Like, does he get to his spots correctly? And I'm not a playbook guy at all. More of an eye test guy. I'm sure everyone can tell that. But I do love that you provide that perspective because it's a great point. Like, if there was one criteria, we might be able to all agree on something, but that's the beauty of it. It's not.
And I would say that, that's something that, it's important when people hear you say that, because you are coming from a place. And I think that you do, again, mention that, you're not, that you are a newer fan to the league. So you are analyzing it from the only perspective that you know how, and that's from watching
Right.
this game. And really and correct me if I'm wrong, but you're doing it kind of as a fan on your own. You haven't been, I hate to use this word, but groomed or trained in a sense by these NLL people to be like, hey,
Right.
this is how it's been, or you played or whatever. So it's a very interesting take. And I think, of course, people also need to keep that in mind if they're, really taking you. And again, I mean, no offense by this, but taking you as seriously as they
Yeah.
do. You are just a fan who has a very strong opinion about things. And I think it's amazing to see fans have those strong opinions about things. It's really important. It's really important.